Aminatou, a widowed baker, toiled tirelessly in the bustling streets of Kano, where the aroma of her freshly baked bread filled the air. Her small bakery had been her lifeline since her husband's tragic death, a loss that left her drowning in sorrow and debt. Though her hands worked with precision, kneading dough and shaping loaves, her mind often wandered to the emptiness that had taken root in her heart. One fateful evening, after closing her shop, Aminata decided to take a different path home. The narrow alleyways of Kano whispered secrets she had never dared to explore. Drawn by a strange, sweet scent, she found herself at the edge of an ancient grove. The trees, gnarled and cloaked in shadows, seemed alive, their branches reaching out as if to welcome her into their mysterious embrace. As Aminata ventured deeper into the grove, the darkness gave way to an otherworldly glow. Before her eyes unfolded a hidden marketplace bustling with life, yet shrouded in an eerie silence. Stalls laden with goods she had never seen before lined the clearing, and vendors moved with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. At the center of it all was a woman unlike any Aminata had ever encountered. Draped in white, her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight. She introduced herself as Zainabu and invited Aminata to sample her kunu. The drink, served in a clay cup, was sweet and refreshing, yet it carried a depth of flavor that stirred something deep within Aminata. Zainabu's eyes, filled with an ancient sorrow, hinted at secrets yet untold. Intrigued and slightly unnerved, Aminata left the market with a promise to return. The next morning, Aminata couldn't shake the memory of the midnight market. The taste of Zainabu's kunu lingered on her tongue, a sweetness that seemed to bloom anew with each thought. Despite her busy day at the bakery, she found herself distracted, replaying the events of the previous night. Who were the vendors? How could such a place exist without anyone in Kano speaking of it? As the sun set, Aminata's curiosity overwhelmed her caution. She packed a small lantern and set out for the grove once again. The sweet aroma greeted her before she even reached the edge of the trees, guiding her steps as though the market itself was calling her back. This time, the marketplace seemed even more vibrant, its glow brighter under the crescent moon. Zainabu's stall stood out like a beacon, and Aminata found herself drawn to it without hesitation. Zainabu greeted her with a knowing smile. "You've returned," she said softly, pouring another cup of kunu. As Aminata sipped, a flood of memories from her past surfaced, her wedding day, her husband's laughter, and the joy they had once shared. The drink's magic was undeniable, and for a moment, Aminata felt whole again. But beneath the warmth of the memories, a faint unease stirred. "What is this place?" Aminata finally asked. Zainabu's smile faltered, and for the first time, her sorrow seemed to deepen. "This is a place of dreams and echoes," she replied cryptically. "A place where desires take form, but not without cost." In the days that followed, Aminata's visits to the midnight market became routine. Each night, she would close her bakery, light her lantern, and follow the sweet aroma to the grove. The kunu became her solace, a balm for the wounds life had inflicted upon her. Each cup brought forth vivid memories of her happiest moments, allowing her to relive the love she had lost. But Aminata began to notice changes within herself. Her recollection of mundane details, where she had placed her keys, the names of certain customers, began to blur. At first, she dismissed it as fatigue, but the forgetfulness grew more pronounced with each visit to the market. One morning, she struggled to recall the face of a childhood friend, a memory that had once been clear as day. Alarmed, Aminata decided to confront Zainabu. That night, she approached the stall with determination. "The kunu, it's changing me," she said, her voice tinged with fear. Zainabu's expression softened, but her response offered little comfort. "Memories are powerful things," she said. "To hold on to them is to pay a price. Are you willing to give up pieces of your past for moments of fleeting joy?" Aminata's heart sank. She realized that the midnight market held more than just wonder, it held danger too. After her confrontation with Zainabu, Aminata resolved to stay away from the midnight market. Yet, as the days passed, an emptiness deeper than her original grief began to take hold. The memory stirred by the kunu had awakened a longing she couldn't ignore. Without the nightly solace of the market, the bakery seemed colder, her life duller, and her loneliness heavier. One night, Against her better judgment, she found herself once again at the edge of the grove. This time, she wandered the market with new eyes, observing the other patrons. Their faces were serene, yet their movements carried a strange detachment, as if they, too, were giving up something intangible. A young man purchasing a silken scarf from a vendor caught her attention. His face was familiar, an old acquaintance from her childhood, but when she approached to greet him, he stared back blankly, his eyes devoid of recognition. Shaken, Aminata returned to Zainabu's stall. "What happens to those who drink too much of your kunu?" she demanded. Zainabu hesitated before answering. "The market thrives on memories," she admitted. "Each cup grants a dream, but it takes something in return. Those who lose too much may forget even themselves." Aminata's blood ran cold. She realized the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. Determined to understand the truth behind the market, Aminata pressed Zainabu for answers. "Why are you here? What binds you to this place?" she asked. Zainabu's eyes, always tinged with sorrow, filled with tears. "I was once like you," she began, her voice trembling. "A bride-to-be, full of hope, but envy is a powerful force. My sister, jealous of my happiness, poisoned me on the eve of my wedding. I died beneath these trees, and my spirit was claimed by the market." Aminata listened in stunned silence as Zainabu continued. "The market gave me a choice, to fade into nothingness or to remain, offering others what I had lost, moments of joy, even if fleeting. But everything comes with a price. Now I am bound here, sustained by the memories others surrender." Aminata's heart ached for Zainabu, but she couldn't ignore the danger the market posed. The allure of the kunu had already begun to unravel her own life. She vowed to uncover a way to free Zainabu and to protect herself before it was too late. Aminata's nights grew restless as she wrestled with the truth of the midnight market. Zainabu's sorrowful tale lingered in her mind, but so did the faces of those who wandered the market in blissful ignorance. She decided to investigate further, determined to understand the full extent of the market's power and the price it exacted. One evening, Aminata followed an elderly woman she had seen frequenting the market. The woman, always dressed in vibrant cloth, seemed to radiate joy. Aminata was startled when the woman approached Zainabu's stall and handed over a small, worn photograph of a young boy. In return, Zainabu gave her a cup of kunu, and tears streamed down the woman's face as she drank. Curious, Aminata approached the woman afterward. "Who was the boy in the photograph?" she asked. The woman smiled sadly. "My son. He died many years ago, but the kunu lets me feel his presence, even if only for a while." Aminata's chest tightened. The market didn't just trade in memories. It preyed on the deepest wounds of the heart. As Aminata walked away, a chilling thought struck her. What if her own memories, her husband's face, their laughter, were slowly being stripped away with each sip of the kunu? Could she bear to lose them forever? Determined to uncover the secrets of the market's origins, Aminata sought out Alhaji Idris, an elderly historian known for his knowledge of Kano's lore. She found him in his modest home, surrounded by shelves of ancient manuscripts and artifacts. When she mentioned the midnight market, his eyes widened in recognition. "The grove you speak of is cursed ground," Alhaji Idris explained. "It is said that spirits bound by betrayal linger there, unable to find peace. The market is their creation, a place where they can barter for fragments of the lives they lost." He paused, his expression grave. "But tampering with such forces is dangerous. The memories taken are not simply forgotten, they become part of the spirit's existence, sustaining them." Aminata's heart sank. Zainabu's tragic story and the market's true purpose were intricately linked. But as she probed further, Alhaji Idris offered a glimmer of hope. "There may be a way to free the spirits," he said. "A ritual of remembrance, performed with genuine compassion, can break their ties to the living world. But it requires great sacrifice." Aminata left with a heavy heart, knowing she had to make a choice: to risk everything to free Zainabu or to leave the market untouched, preserving her memories at the cost of others' pain. The revelation of a potential ritual to free Zainabu and the spirits of the grove consumed Aminata's thoughts. She couldn't ignore the growing number of faces in the market, each drawn by the kunu's bittersweet allure. More than ever, she felt the weight of responsibility to act, but fear not at her resolve. That night, Aminata returned to Alhaji Idris to learn more about the ritual. The ritual is not for the faint-hearted, he warned. It demands the recitation of the spirit's life story, the lighting of candles to honor their pain, and the offering of a personal memory as a gesture of empathy. Aminata's heart skipped a beat. The idea of sacrificing a memory was daunting. What would she lose, and could she bear it? Alhaji Idris handed her a scroll containing the ritual's details. You must gather the materials and prepare within the grove, he added. But beware, the spirits may resist. They have grown accustomed to their existence, as painful as it may be. Aminata spent the following days preparing for the ritual. She collected candles, incense, and a clay bowl for the offering. Yet her greatest challenge lay in choosing the memory she would give. Each moment she considered felt too precious to part with, leaving her torn between her past and her newfound mission. As the night of the ritual approached, she steeled herself for what was to come. The moon hung low in the sky as Aminata entered the grove, her arms laden with the tools of the ritual. The marketplace, usually abuzz with activity, seemed quieter than usual, as if the spirits sensed her purpose. Zainabu watched her approach, her expression a mix of sorrow and apprehension. Are you sure about this? Zainabu asked softly. Aminata nodded, her resolve firm despite the storm of emotions within her. She set up the ritual space near the ancient tree at the heart of the grove, arranging the candles in a circle and lighting them one by one. Their flames flickered, casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees. As she began to recite Zainabu's story, the air grew heavy, and a chill swept through the grove. Aminata spoke of love and betrayal, of dreams shattered by envy, and of a life cut short. Each word seemed to echo, reverberating through the grove as if the spirits themselves were listening. Tears streamed down Zainabu's face as Aminata's voice carried the weight of her pain. Finally, it was time for the offering. Aminata held the clay bowl in trembling hands, her mind racing as she chose the memory to surrender. She closed her eyes and thought of the moment her husband had proposed a memory that had sustained her through her darkest days. With a deep breath, she let it go, pouring it into the bowl as a single tear fell. The candles flared brightly, and a gust of wind swept through the grove. The marketplace shimmered, its glow fading as the spirits began to dissolve into the night. Zainabu looked at Aminata with gratitude and sorrow. "Thank you," she whispered as her form began to fade. "You have given me peace." As the last traces of the market vanished, Aminata stood alone in the grove, the memory of her husband's proposal now a void in her mind. Yet, she felt a strange sense of fulfillment, knowing she had done what was right.